All right, what's up, guys? So, in this video, I want to talk to you guys about an experience I had while taking an Uber a few weeks ago in Florida. For those of you that are brand new to this channel, what's up, guys? My name is Marco Musso, and I run a multiple six figures a year marketing agency. We work with home contractors, and the goal is to build a $2 million a year company, and we're on pace for that. And so, along the way, I kind of just discuss business tactics, stories, lessons I've learned, and hopefully, you guys can take at least just one thing of value from this and just apply it into your life, your agency, or whatever it is that you're in. And so, let's get into it. So, these are the 5 lessons that I learned, and then I'll kind of break down the story. But those lessons include: A, never be a victim. 2, stop complaining. You're wasting time. 3, volume negates luck. 4, fact about life. It's hard and you're all in. So play it to the best of your ability. And 5, people have no idea who you are, so you need to market yourself. And so a few weeks ago, I called an Uber to go to my brother's apartments, and I got into the Uber, and the guy saw that I had my microphone. I take my microphone with me, and I held it by my hand as opposed to putting it in my bag. And the guy goes, "So are you a podcaster, bro?" And I'm like, "No, man, I just use it for work, obviously for the audio, and I just want to make sure that I look professional and it sounds clear." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool, man. What do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I run a marketing agency. What about you?" And he says, "Well, on the side I Uber, but I'm a full-time kind of like a cinematic movie editor kind of type person, and he basically edits films and does all these crazy 3D animations for the most part." And I said, "Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. How's that going for you?" And he says, "It's tough right now, man. I just got laid off from my job. I used to work with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers." And I asked him, "How long ago was that?" And he said, "I think it was 6 or 12 months ago, either or." And he goes, "How's the job market for you right now?" And I say, or he goes, "How is your company?" And I say, it's going pretty well, man. I'm just spending a lot of money on ads and just really focused on client acquisition for B2B sales and marketing. And he goes, "Nice, because for me, it's really hard right now. And I just haven't been able to find a job. I'm good at what I do, but things are tough and the pressure's starting to kind of get to me." And I asked him, "Why do you say it's tough right now? What's going on?" And he goes, "Well, I haven't been able to find a job since I got laid off, and the burden of financial debt is starting to take a real hold on my well-being, and I'm starting to get depressed, and life is just not going my way." And I say to him, "Okay, so what do you have to do to get out of this situation? What's the goal here?" And he repeats, he's good at what he does. He showed me and shared me his Instagram, which it was. He had like 20,000 followers. He was really good at what he did. And I said to him, "Hey, man, your Instagram looks great. What are you doing to reach out to people in order to get a job?" And he goes, "Well, I really haven't been looking around that much. And I stopped him. I'm like, "Well, that's your problem right there, man. Like, with all due respect, you need to just put yourself out there, because the truth is nobody knows who you are. You're clearly good at what you do. I'm looking at your work right now. His engagement wasn't good. It wasn't like one of those bullshit accounts where you can buy followers, right? Like, he was getting thousands of views per video. He had 20,000 followers or whatever it was. And I asked him, so again, man, like, what are you doing to put yourself out there? And are you posting consistently?" And he's like, "Nah, I stopped posting. I post, maybe once every 2 weeks." And again, this is the problem. And so I asked him, and so listen, man, I know that you said you were depressed, or you mentioned to like the financial burden and responsibility that you're starting to feel real pressure with in your life. What do you mean by that? And he says, "Well, since I got laid off, I haven't been able to make the money that I want, and I haven't been able to find the job that I want. And so my life isn't going the way I want it to go." And I want to pause and tell you guys, if life isn't going the way you want it to go, that's okay. It is. Like, we all have these downward spirals. Sometimes they're inevitable. But the question becomes, what are you going to do to get yourself out of this situation? And if the answer is nothing, then you're fucked. And so in this case, I told him, I said, "Listen, man, you're good at what you do. People just need to know who you are." And so this entire conversation, it was just not productive. And everything and anything that came out of his mouth was just him identifying as a victim and it not being forward momentum or something positive to look forward to, or solution oriented is what I meant. It was all just problems and negativity and being laid off and the burden of a financial responsibility. It was all the negative things that was going on, that are going on in his life. He was bringing to light. He was bringing to surface. And so I obviously was asking him questions like, how do we get out of this? What's the goal? What's the plan here? But again, I think that some people are just so far gone. And this was only 6 to 12 months ago, right, where he got laid off. And it was only like less than a year of being in this downward rut. And you can easily snap yourself out of it. But the question becomes, this is where I'm at. What am I going to do to get myself out of this situation? And so what I will say, guys, is that when I was in this Uber, the entire time I just never wanted to leave a car faster. I'm not even exaggerating. Like it was like a positive and a negative magnet. When you try to put them together, positive and positive, I think it is. Where when you try to put them together, they repel. And so I couldn't even listen to this guy's thoughts and the way he was expressing himself, because I too was in kind of a similar position, but like I didn't complain. I didn't say, "Oh, my life is terrible." I said, "Okay, this is my fault, my responsibility, and it's my choice to get out of the situation." And I did. But it only lasted for a few weeks. It wasn't a prolonged period of close to a year, as in his case. And so I just couldn't even be around that mindset. And I'm not saying this in like an arrogant type way. What I am saying is that having been in the game now for 14 months and being around killers and people that are doing multi seven figures a year, if this was said around them by a person in their group, they would be gone. And that is facts. If you guys are watching this and you guys aren't necessarily understanding of the game of entrepreneurship and social circles and male hierarchies, this is how it works. If this guy's mindset, or if this situation was put into my mentor or one of my closest friends, they would just tell the guy to shut the fuck up and go to hell. Like literally, they would tell him to do that, because it is infectious. In the 48 Laws of Power, I'm pretty sure it's like one of the first five rules where it's like avoid the negative and unmotivated. Their energy is infectious, and that's true. It's true. When you're around underperformers, you will drop to their level. When you're around overachievers, you will increase your productivity to match theirs. Hence, you become who you surround yourself with. That is a fact of life. And so there are 5 lessons that I kind of took away from this, and hopefully you guys can just take one thing, apply it into your own life in case you were kind of going through something similar. And that's lesson 1: never identify as a victim. If you identify as a victim, you're cooked. You are actually cooked. As Hormozi said, the first rule of poverty is my fault. I am in this situation because it was my fault to begin with. And it is now in my responsibility to get out of this situation. Okay, so you never, ever, ever have to identify or should identify as a victim. What good would this do for your life? It wouldn't do any good. And that's facts. Okay. And that's the first lesson. The second lesson is stop complaining you're wasting time. Now, before I began this journey, I created the vision board, created my rules for life, created all the values that I'm going to hold and live to. And one of them was stop complaining you're wasting time. And it's true. You're either going to stop complaining about your situation or you're going to do something to fix it. When you complain, you waste time. What good is it for me to sit here, for example, if I were to complain about a team member, right? Oh, my VA, she sucks. She's not doing what she wants. She's not doing what she's supposed to do. Like, what good comes from that? Nothing. And so and as easy as it sounds to stop complaining, it's much harder done than said. You might catch yourself at times in your life just complaining subconsciously without even consciously being aware of it. And this is something you have to constantly reinforce and train into your subconscious so that it propels into your conscious and it just then becomes a habitual action. Make sense? Cool. And again, stop complaining you're wasting time. Everything needs to be forward focused, speed, fixing problems, fixing constraints, and just moving forward just one step at a time. There is no delaying or hesitation in these moments. And so the third lesson is volume negates luck. As Hormozi says, the famous quote, do so much work, it's impossible for you to fail. And in this guy's case, the Uber driver didn't send out any applications after being laid off, was posting once short a week, or excuse me, once short on a bi-weekly basis. And this is not enough at all. The people who are at the top echelons in business, they're posting 3, 4, 5, 600 shorts a week. A week. It is insane the amount of volume that they're doing. And so when you look at yourself and you look at your situation, you should really say to yourself, wow, I am nowhere near where I should be. Look at these other people. I know I have more in my system. I know I can do more and be more. So why am I not doing it? As simple as that. And so volume negates luck. If he had put out 500 applications, if he had put out 5 shorts a day, his situation in life would be so different. Facts. I do not care if you disagree. That is a fact. If he had put out hundreds of applications and gone and just destroyed the organic algorithm, even if he didn't get accepted anywhere, his life would still be different. That is a fact, and I will stand by that. Number 4, fact about life. It's hard and you're all in, so play it to the best of your ability. I remember vividly Jordan Peterson discussing how a fact about life is that you're all in. You don't have a choice to be half in, half out. You're all in. So why not play it to the best of your ability? And life is hard. And in this guy's situation, I don't really think he ever experienced like hard like that. In my life, I've lived in West Africa. I've seen I've seen families in rural West Africa who have nothing, like actually nothing. What they're relying on is foreign aid and food and water from these foreign countries, as opposed to their own government, which should be doing their job, but they're not. And these people are, like, for example, I remember I visited a family in rural Senegal for this program that I was on, and at the time I had wrestled some locals on the beach. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm assuming most of you guys don't know this, but in Senegal is a country in West Africa, and their national sport is called la lutte, which in French or in English means wrestling. And that is their official sport of the country. And so during the evening, during sunset, there's going to be hundreds of guys at the beach wrestling, practicing. And I used to wrestle in high school. And so I'm like, oh, let me show them what's up. So I get to the beach, and they are, holy shit, the strongest humans I've experienced on earth. Like natural strength as well, training in the sands 7 days a week, nonstop, because that is their life. And so when they grip you, it's like fucking Thor's gripping you. It is insane. But at the time, this guy gripped me, and the skin or the sands, because we wrestled on the beach, and so when he gripped my wrist, there was obviously sands between his hands and my wrist. And so as I'm turning and trying to get my hands out of his wrist, I get a cut, and the cut opens up, and it's like 2 inches wide, an inch long, and it's pretty fucking big. And so I had to go to this pharmacy, and I had to go all around Senegal looking for this cream and this medicine that would fix my hand, because I couldn't put it in the shower. So when I was showering, I would put my hands above my head and make sure it doesn't get wet. And if it does get wet, then the scar is going to peel, and it's going to be a repetitive cycle for months. And that's what it was, because it was awful to heal this thing, especially in the humid heat that was in West Africa. And so I have this open wounds cut. During the trip, we go out to visit a family on a program in rural Africa, and I look at this kid, and this kid is just looking at me because I am the first white person this kid has ever seen in his entire life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Some of these kids have never seen a white person in their life. And so I'm looking at this kid, he's looking at me like I'm an alien, and I look at his wrist, and he has the exact same cut as I do on my wrists. But here's the kicker. On his wrist are flies biting his wrists, opening the cut, and mine is covered and mine is healed. And so my point is, people have it so much harder than you. And in this guy's situation, if he just experienced 1% of what the world is actually like outside of cushy Florida, I don't think he would complain about his situation. This might be a hot take, but it's the truth about the world, guys. And so that's that. Now, the fifth is, people have no idea who you are, so you need to market yourself. Kind of similar to point 3, which is most, myself included, should not even worry about market saturation at all. Unless you're spending like 2, 3K a day on ads, you shouldn't worry about market saturation. And so you just need to do more volume. People have no idea who you are. The market is way bigger than you think. And you just need to find the people who are to your avatar, your ideal ICP. And that the most fascinating part, which I love, is that like there's like 3% of any given market that's just ready to buy, card out on the table. And I've came across those people a few times, objectionless closes, of course, and those are what we're chasing, those are what we want. And there is a degree of luck, but volume negates luck, of course. And so I hope this video kind of gives you clarity onto the mindset needed in entrepreneurship, because it's hard. It's really hard. And so you need to continue to have your reasons why, and that so long you stick to path, it's going to work out. And so I hope this video was of value, and I will see you guys in the next.